Okay, everyone, welcome to our conversation today. My name is Samuel Oluboyowa, and today we'll be having a lovely conversation with our guest, Feyintola Dahunsi. I want you to, so for those of us that are teenagers that are on the call, I'll encourage you to do yourself the favor, actually, of paying attention. Just pay rapt attention to everything Feyintola will be sharing with us today. This is going to be a very lovely session. It's going to be insightful. Feyintola is a big tech guy. Let me just put it that way, right? And before I go into introducing him and allowing him to also speak a bit in introducing himself, please, if your mic is on, kindly just help mute your mic. Thank you. Mute your mic. It will really be helpful so that way there are no disturbances, right? Mute your mic, please. Thank you. So before I go into introducing Feyintola and we commence the conversation today, I would like to speak a bit about tentacles. Excuse me, about tentacles and what we do here at Tentacles. So just permit me to share my screen so that we can have a lovely conversation with a slide I've prepared for this conversation. I believe you can see my screen. Please, I need to know, can anyone see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We will have said, oh, everyone should introduce themselves, but we can't really do that on this call. We have a very, very short time. Okay, so we're having a lovely conversation with Feyinti about his journey into tech. This meeting is great for teenagers and especially for people that have general interest in tech. So even if you're not a teenager and you're on this call, you are fascinated by tech. Tech is something you've been dreaming about, thinking about, and planning to go into. Then this conversation should be something you listen to, right? So I was saying I'll speak a little bit about what we do here at Tentacles. Tentacles is an ed tech. Our main focus is on teaching, networking, and fostering growth, right? So what's an ed tech? An ed tech is an education technology, basically like a school that helps you learn tech, basically. So if you're someone who is looking to start your career in tech, you're someone who is interested in um, mentoring, you want to meet people that can help you build a thriving career in the tech field, then that is why we have Tentacles. Our aim is to empower the next generations of innovators, and we plan to do that by providing a platform for skill development, for collaboration and problem solving. So the amazing thing about Tentacles is that we're not just all about, oh, let's just teach you say front end now. Let's teach you front end, let's teach you product design and all, and that's all. What we really want to do is to teach you these skills in such a way that you are empowered to also be able to go out there and start working with the skill. So our end goal at the end of the day is to help you. When I say you now, I'm talking about teenagers because teenagers are essentially our target audience. If you're an adult and you're looking to learn tech, it's good. We can also have a conversation around that. But at Tentacles, our main focus are teenagers, just helping teenagers to build skills in tech. What's our vision? Our vision is to become the leading platform that caters for the learning, networking, growth, and the needs of teenagers in Africa. So there is a huge opportunity in tech for everyone, especially for teenagers. And there is no better time to be exposed to tech than when you're young. A lot of us that are on the call, if you probably have started coding since you were 16 or you're 14, I don't know, maybe by now you'll be in the US, maybe by now you'll be doing amazing stuff, creating amazing application and solutions for people, right? But as they say, it's never too late to start learning, but our focus is that we want to catch these teenagers young. So there are teenagers that are here and they're just, it's not just about the conventional way of doing things and thinking anymore. Let me not jump ahead of myself. Our mission also is to help people learn with ease, network seamlessly, and grow exponentially. If you look at, you've been listening to what I've been saying, you see that there are some words that keep featuring, and that's networking and growing, right? Because in life, they say your network is your net worth, right? So if you are not able to build that proper network, even if you are a skilled person and you don't have the appropriate network, you probably might not really be able to make as much growth as you want to, right? We have programs, we'll go into all this later. And so there is a quote I saw somewhere, and the quote is, the illiterate of this 21st century will not be those that cannot read and write. Everybody can read and write now. Everybody goes to school. Well, not everybody, at least most people can read and write now. But the illiterate of this generation, of this era, will be people that cannot learn, that cannot understand, and cannot communicate with machines. And when I mean machines, I mean computers. You cannot learn, you cannot understand, you cannot communicate with computers, right? So the conventional way of, going to school, we go to school, we learn, we open the textbook, we go back home, we write exams, we pass, that is gradually fading out. The way the world is going now, if you are not tech literate, if you're not literate and you are able to communicate with computers, machines, understand machines properly, you probably may not really be able to, get things going well in terms of getting things, done for yourself, basically. We're talking about AI. Maybe when we have this conversation with Feyintola, we begin to have this conversation around AI, how AI is taking jobs, and creating new jobs anyway, because people focus on how AI takes jobs and don't create jobs. So I'm not the guest, I'm the host, so I won't take all the time. Let me just go into introducing our guest. And our guest for today is Feyintola Dahunsi. I'll read a little bit about his bio and then I'll call him. Feyintola Dahunsi is a senior software engineer in test. I also am going to ask what that in test means when we begin to have our conversation. He's a senior software engineer in test at Siemens Energy, which is based in Erlangen, Bavaria, Germany. Feyintola has a background in computer science from the University of Ibadan. Feyintola has built a diverse career in software development and quality assurance. His expertise spans .NET framework, quality engineering, and artificial intelligence. Feyintola's professional journey includes roles such as seniors, SDET at Bread Financial, senior software developer at Andela, and quality assurance automation engineer at Alert by Wema. And this is just like few roles that Feyintola has taken over the years, right? We're going to be going into details about how he got himself into some of these roles later on. Feyintola is passionate about optimizing processes, solving complex problems, and fostering collaborative team environments. Feyintola holds several certifications. I mean, I think I took time yesterday to go over his LinkedIn profile again, and I had to just take a screenshot of his LinkedIn profile and put it here for everyone to see. He holds several certifications, and some of them include professional cloud architect, and he has been recognized for his academic and professional achievements. Ladies and gentlemen on the call, teenagers, boys and girls, please help me welcome Feyintola Dahunsi. Feyinti, please, you can unmute and say a few words in introducing yourself also.
All right. Good day, everyone. Just confirming that everyone can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. First, let me apologize. I'm still on the road. I thought I'd have arrived at my destination by now, but I'm here. My attention is fully on this call. There's no need to worry. Okay. Honored to be sure Tentacles for extending this invitation. I always believe it's an opportunity whenever we have the platform to speak to folks, right? As to my journey, introducing myself is always difficult, right? Because I don't really like talking about my journey all that much, right? But every once in a while it's necessary, right? So of course, you've heard my name a couple of times. You've heard a bit about my journey, right? What I just probably highlight out of the journey is the fact that I actually started programming when I was 15. When I was 15, and a large part of the fact that I'm able to I graduated school in February this year. A large part of the fact that I'm able to say that I have 7 years of experience and actually defend that statement that I have 7 years of experience is because I started coding when I was 15. So I think that honestly, for every teenager, on this call, like you are in this unique location, right? But also for everyone else who is on this call, regardless of your age or anything like that, right? I think we'll have more opportunities to talk, but regardless of your age, right? And yeah, I started when I was 15, right? And that's really helped me so far. I work with Andela. Through them, I've gotten to work with a couple of different companies all over the world, and it's been a great journey so far. Glad to be here. Uh, yeah, I think that's a succinct introduction. There's a lot of
Yeah,
questions, so we'll have more opportunities to
lots and lots
things
of
as we go
questions,
along.
actually. Thank you so much for that succinct introduction, Feyinti. Okay, so let me just start from where you stopped. And where you stop is that you started your journey into tech. I mean, people will look at you and you tell them you have 7 years of experience and be like, are you serious? You are able to achieve all this in 7 years? Is that how easy this tech thing is? So let me start from what inspired you, right? What is Okay, let's talk about the inspiration. So, what really inspired you into tech? What is that significant factor that helped you in this journey to commence this journey in the first place?
It's interesting. That's a really interesting question. And so I was going to answer that one way, but being here just reminds me of something else. Honestly, I'd say that the biggest thing that sparked my journey into tech was my friends. And like it just really just
Mm,
goes to point to the importance of the community that you have.
mm,
I actually didn't start writing code first. When I was in secondary school, I had a friend, Femi Oyepeju, who was our head boy at that time. He loved, tech, and then he was the one who started doing that time. He just looked so very odd. That
mm,
was 10 plus years ago, right? And it was Femi that started doing coding. He was doing, HTML. And that time we used to have access to the computer lab. I went to a Lagos State, I went to public school actually, to a Lagos State Model College in Badagry, and we would just use like HTML, right? And we were just building, nothing fancy, nothing, just we just have H2, you have your elements, you have your tags and all those things. And it was just like, okay, this is a nice thing that doesn't necessarily have any particular use case, but it just feels cool, right? It just feels cool. I think another thing to mention is that I also grew up in a house where there was a lot of access to tech, right? We've been using computers we've had computers in my house since I was maybe 6. So like
mm,
that's actually one thing I think that I don't talk about enough. I've had computers in my life since I was 6, probably or even younger, right? So I've actually had access to computers all my life, right? So
mm,
that's part of it. So it just kind of flowed along those lines, right? And what really catalyzed it was that there was a particular competition that we attended in secondary school when I was in SS3. There was a particular competition that we attended. It was called the ICT Olympiad. So it was a national competition, right, where
mm,
a couple of folks came, and then as part of the competition, they trained us in web design and graphics design, actually. So we learned
mm.
web design, graphics design, and along those lines, I just realized, okay, this is actually something that's rather interesting. And I think to do this for the rest of I did not at that point decide I was going to do that the rest of my life. It just felt like it's something that was really interesting, right? Then I went back home, which is one thing that is one of the things I'm also going to talk about, like the importance of
Mm.
learning. Because I went back home, and so they were giving us classes, but I wanted to follow up on it personally. So I took a book right, on the subject. And funny enough, the book now took me a lot faster, a lot farther than what my instructors were doing. So I took a book on the journey and then on tech, right, and learned how to program from there. And yeah, that's what got me interested in it. So what has kept me in tech has probably been just the fact that you come to understand that in tech, there's so much power, right? There's so much power to really create, right, and unlock solutions. And the one of the most powerful things about tech is, and I'll talk about that later as well, but one of the most powerful things about tech is how it unlocks opportunities. You could say that in a large way, tech is the great equalizer. It's one of the we don't have a lot of time, so don't let me spread. But yeah, tech is the great equalizer. I'll just leave it there.
Wow. I'm looking for someone to write that down. Tech is a great. Don't worry, you're going to see that on our page immediately after this meeting. Honestly, and these things you've shared about this journey just starting more like a fun thing. My friends are doing it. I mean, let me join them. This is interesting. It looks good. And I'm sure when you're able to write a line of code, you're happy with yourself and that. So it really goes to show having that laptop with you, like since you were a child, opening you to these world of possibilities, right? Okay. Let me also continue by asking, are you able to speak now, or we should give you a moment?
Yeah, please go ahead. No,
All
go
right.
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So I want to ask a follow-up question, and that's regarding your interest.
Mhm.
I have a parent that reached out to us, and he said, I want my child to start learning tech. And obviously, the focus is I want this guy to start making money as soon as possible, because this tech thing is the new oil. This is a new oil. This is where the real deal is. So, is there any point when you are starting, you were having that reasoning like, okay, I really want to do this for the money. I want this money is really attractive. Let's push for that money. Or do you think that's also a good place to start when you're starting your tech journey?
So the question is whether or not money is a good motivator for starting tech.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's an interesting question, right? Because there are different views, but what I'll just distill it into would be to say that money fuels passion. People say follow your passion, and that's true. It's true. There's truth in that, but money also fuels passion, right? It's very easy to say follow your passion, but in the end, there are bills to be paid, right? There's school fees to be paid. There's all those things to be paid. So if your passion is not able to translate like into financial power, eventually that passion will die. Even if you don't kill the passion, the people around you will help you kill the passion, right? I think it can actually be a bit irresponsible to say that you want to insist on following your passion if your passion is not translating into some form of financial, you know, power for the people around you, right? Especially as your responsibilities increase. So is money a good reason to start tech? I'd say it's not a bad reason, no honesty. Right? Because a lot of the time, if you start tech and you're not interested in it, by the time there's this thing that success does, right? Where the more you succeed at a certain thing, the success in and of itself starts to become the driver, like your forward motion, right? Because of the fact that you are doing this certain thing, you are good at it, right? What that also causes, and I think people don't talk about this enough, right, is the fact that a lot of the things that cause a lot of the things that we associate, and there's a really wonderful book on it, right? Funny enough, I think the first time I even heard the name of the book was in the TBC program. But a lot of the things that are associated with um job success, right, or like with job satisfaction, they don't come from a place of passion. They come from a place of mastery. And let me explain what I mean by that. They come from a place of the work you are doing is bringing certain things to you. It's giving you flexibility, right? It's giving you finances. It's giving you prestige. Those are the things that actually tend to make work. So it is not the work in and of itself, right, that really produces the things that we look for in when we say follow your passion. It is the results of the work that produces that thing. I hope that makes sense, right? That's actually what produces it. So what I'm saying by that is if you are doing a great job and you are having that feedback, right? You're having that tangible feedback in your bank account. You're having that tangible feedback in the people around you. Eventually, the passion will come, honestly, right? But at the same time, right, I would also say that we also want to be cautious about shoehorning people into what we think is the best route for them, right? Because it's very easy to just turn tech back into another doctrine or into another engineering or into another, even football, right? Where people think, okay, this is where the money is. No, the money is not in any particular place. I'm a tech person, yes, but the money is not in tech. The money is in value. That's where money is. Money is that somebody gives somebody else value. And as a response to that, money, like value, as a response to the value you give somebody, they give you money. So tech must be connected to value. If you are saying tech, in the end, nobody pays you for writing code. Anybody who is paying you is not paying you for code. They are paying you for the value that you're offering them through your code. That's what it is. So if you streamline people to one particular thing, well, go and do tech, but you are divorcing, if you divorce the value, right, from the occupation, regardless of where the person goes, there won't be much of a response. Of course, tech is a great field, because it has certain advantages, but in the end, it's about value. So I'd say instead of trying to force people into tech, let people have an understanding of the fact that they need to produce value. If they're able to produce value, wherever they are, they can make money, right? Tech is a great option, but wherever they are, they can make money.
Wow. That's amazing. That is really amazing. An amazing thought. So it's not about tech, it's about value. And so if you are so consumed with money, you're thinking about money, and you are not looking for ways to actually give people value, you are wasting your time. Wow, that's an amazing thought. Thank you so much, Feyintola. Okay, a follow-up question. You were going to share this before in the first question I asked, and that's the place of learning, right? So I've seen some teenagers, I've spoken with some teenagers, probably just see a line of code, or they see some complex maths equation and they're like, I can't know this. There's no way I can know this. Don't even try. It's too difficult. And there are people, that think that way too, that, oh, tech is actually very complex, especially coding. It's complex. By the time you begin to advance to JavaScript, and then, senior men like you, by the time you go advanced JavaScript and stuff. Okay, so number one, what's the place of learning for you? Are you in natural genuines? Is it just that you see it and you just capture it immediately? It makes sense to you. You are able to understand what the problem is and what line of code to write. And secondly, okay, let's focus on that. So the place of learning, how has that helped you? What is that one factor that has helped you to become the professional that you are today?
Okay, that's a very good question, really. I think so. There's two separate questions there, right? Now, the first question is how has learning impacted my journey, and then the second question would be how does learning affect someone who is looking into doing tech? Now, I think one of the most common things I hear when it comes to conversations around technology, right, and software development in particular, is that it's difficult, and then it's interesting, right? Because there are different perspectives, but it tends to fall into one of two places. Either people say, oh, it's difficult, right? And they run away from it. And oftentimes what actually happens is, the reason why that happens is it's a result of unmet expectations, in the fact that people oftentimes see people in tech and it seems like they have such this rapid rise that in a relatively short period of time, they are already commanding USD, they are doing all these things. And then somewhere there now becomes an association of tech with easy money, right? And then there's also the association that, okay, once you are in tech, you will make money. What that now causes is that it now causes there to be unmet expectations, because when you now proceed into that thing, having at the back of your mind that, okay, maybe there's some easy money here, the problem comes, right? What I mean by that is this. People find tech difficult because they do not expect it to be difficult. It is difficult. If it wasn't difficult, the whole world would do it. Like, it's genuinely fine that tech is difficult. It is. But here's the thing about it. It's not more difficult than, I'm not going to put this in a way that makes sense. It's like learning a new language. Honestly, it's like learning a new language. I don't know if anybody ever remembers trying to learn, if especially if you came from a different language to English, or if you're going from one language to another language, you are learning an entirely different language. That is going to require some difficulty for you. And the fact that you are having issues with that doesn't mean that you are not suited for it. It makes sense that you should have issues with it. What would be surprising is if you picked up tech today and boom, you knew everything to do. However, however, what you should also understand is that anybody who is speaking French fluently did not first speak French fluently. They started from je, tu, something else, right? And at first, I think a lot of schools still do French now, right? Because I remember I was speaking to teenagers, right? And in your school, they probably still do things like if you guys have French classes, you do je, you do tu, you do all those things, and then you probably can't make the connection between somebody who comes to you and they're not speaking the je and they're not speaking the French, and how those your je and the tu and all those things you are doing and the vous and the nous, how it correlates. But it builds up. So I might see a page of French today and it makes absolutely no sense to me, right? At this point in time. But how do I get to the point where I'm able to understand this, my page of French? It is through my je and the tu and the nous and the vous. So what I'm saying is that it's a journey. It takes time, and it is completely fine that when you start that journey, you might struggle with it. The people who are great at tech are not the people who are naturally gifted at this. Like till now, I have fields in tech where when I start to learn those fields, is I remember the first time I looked at some fields, but we can talk about that more later. I'm like, okay. So the certification exams I've sat for, I'm like, when I started, I'm like, what sorcery is this? All right, what sorcery is this? But you learn, honestly, like you learn. It's just being I think the biggest thing that differentiates people that succeed in tech and the people that don't is being comfortable with being bored. Like being comfortable with it's not making sense to you, being comfortable with complexity, being comfortable with not knowing, like that comfort, being willing to sit through that journey of not understanding what you are seeing, right? But having that understanding, okay, this is a process, and eventually I will get to the point where I understand these things, right? But just being comfortable with you are watching a video and you sleep off, you get up. I remember when I was 15, I'll be reading a book, I sleep off, I get up, I walk around my room, I come back, I sit down, and I continue. Like it's just having that comfort, having the comfort with discomfort, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's really how you get there, right? By continually pushing through that process, eventually you get to a point where you now read your French essay and it makes sense to you. You get to a point where you see a page of code and it makes sense to you. You get to a point where you read, for example, if you're not doing software development, let's say you're doing product management, you get to a point where you see a product requirement document, right? And then it just makes sense to you. Like it just kind of makes sense to you. But it's not easy for anybody in the beginning. I think that's like the biggest thing everybody must understand. There's nobody. Maybe there are. I don't know of any. I just don't know of any who it came for like that, right? So I think that answers one part of the question. Then the second part of the question is learning. I genuinely think the biggest issue most people have is okay. How do we enter this? How do I enter this gently? I think if you will succeed in anything, honestly, right, regardless whether it's tech or not tech, like learning is such an important thing because the way I see it is every time you learn, right, you are adding a new tool to your toolbox. And what that means is that you have more abilities or more opportunities to solve problems. That's all it is. Right. For example, one of the things that really helped me in tech, honestly, is not even my technical skills. Because before you get to the point of deploying technical skills, your soft skills will come into play.
Mm.
All right. And it's just okay. Also going through that process of learning those things that has been able to help me, get to enter some room. So I think I'll just stop there.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. Okay. Just in one sentence, I want you to tell the teenagers on the call, is tech difficult or not? Because these things you have shared are powerful, right? But somewhere in their mind, they will still be like, this uncle, this uncle will talk like this because of course now. So, like, is tech something they can learn, understand, and build a profession in?
Okay, that's a very
Teenagers,
good.
not the
In one
adults. So
statement,
the adults can go and hold
for
themselves, just the teenagers.
for teenagers, honestly, is tech difficult? Yes, it is. Can you learn it? Yes, you can. Is tech difficult? Honestly, if I tell you it's not difficult, I'm lying to you. Is tech difficult? Yes, it is. Can you learn it? Yes, you can. Is it worth learning it? Yes, it is. You will never regret the amount of time. Okay, you said one sentence. Understand?
Okay, now that's actually fine. Do you want to complete your thoughts? That's actually
Like,
fine.
so, so that I don't leave anybody hanging. Is tech difficult?
Yeah.
In all honesty, yes, it is. Like, especially, it's like learning a new language. Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Can you learn it and build a successful career in it, regardless of who you are, what you are, and what your background is? Yes, you can. Will it be worth the time you invest in it? Yes,
Mm.
it will. It's like doing exercise, right? Like recently I started running again. And one thing that helps me when I'm running is understanding that the discomfort is good. The fact that right now as you're running, you are feeling pain, that's good, right? Because it tells you that what you're doing is making sense. And it's that I would thank myself 20 years from now for the discomfort I'm going through in this period of time. It's the
Mm.
same thing with tech. You would thank yourself 10. So for a teenager, yeah, you would thank yourself 10 years from now when somebody calls you to come and do a speech to other
Mm.
teenagers about why it's important, and you can come and sound very high and,
Yeah.
yes, tech is good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yes. You will thank yourself for it. You will thank yourself for it. I think that's what I'd say.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Feyintola. This is powerful. And I hope the teenagers are listening. This is for you, right? And that's why I wanted him to say that again in a way you can understand, right? Okay, so if you're on the call and you have questions, please you can start dropping your questions in the comment chat box. Please drop your question there. And I sent a message earlier that you should feel free to share this session with friends, with family. This is an important conversation. If you have a teenager around you that is just sleeping or doing something, call them. They should come and join us in this conversation. This is really important, right? So if you have questions, you can write it down and ask later when we're done with having our chat, and then or you can easily drop the question. I know some of you are already dropping your question. That's great. Keep dropping them. We'll come to them. All right. Fenty, you mentioned soft skills, right? But I don't want to go to soft skills yet. I want to go to mentorship because there's the other part that, oh, I can do it on my own. There is the extreme of tech is so difficult, I can't learn it. There's the other extreme of things. I know how to handle complex
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? I can get it sorted on my own. There's nothing there. Okay, so what was the right balance? How do you find for yourself? How did you find that balance? And what is the role of mentorship in finding that balance?
Honestly, yeah, it's a fantastic question. Honestly, and when I saw it, like, it's a really good question because it's very important. I'd honestly say that the biggest difference between somebody who will make it in tech and somebody who won't might be that it's probably going to be the community. Let me let that sit. The biggest difference between somebody who's going to make it in tech and somebody who won't is probably going to be a community. Because here, like, it's the people around you. Why do I say that? We do what as the way we have evolved as human beings, right? We have evolved to enjoy the things that the people around us say are good, right? Because, okay, I don't want to get too theoretical, right? But the point is this: success as a human being is often found in doing the thing that your society around you tells you is the right thing to do. So that is the way we have evolved. What does that mean? You will do what the people around you celebrate. Whatever is celebrated, whatever is rewarded is repeated. Whatever is punished is stopped. Like whatever is rewarded is repeated, right? You will do what the people around you celebrate. And I'm coming back to mentorship. I'm saying that if you have people around you that celebrate you for doing tech, you are likely to do it for longer. if you have people around you that every time you do tech, they're like, wait till be this one, you don't come again. Wait, Benny, better go and do something else. Go play ball, go watch match, go do all those things, As a woman, they're telling you, you need to be on Instagram, you need to do all these things, whatever it is. If you have people around you who that is what they constantly promote, I promise you, it might not happen immediately, but eventually you might stop tech. That is where a mentor comes in. Like, because, like, for my own journey, it has been so important. Let me start by saying this. So I finished UI with a 2-1, right? I started doing tech proper, like working for companies when I was maybe like 200 level. A very large part of the fact that I was able to stay through school was because I had a mentor that told me, oh, Benny, there are doors that your degree will open for you, that your skills will not open for you. Don't drop out of school. And he told me that thing at least 3 or 4 times. And at that point in time, I was like, who wants to drop out of school anyway? But it ended up being very, very useful for me in the future. That particular piece of advice, don't drop out of school. Other things, like there's so many, I'd say that my journey I've been able to avoid so many pitfalls because I have a community of people around me constantly telling me, watch out for this, watch out for that, watch out for this, watch out for that. Which is where, like scripture says that in the presence of counsel, plans are established, right? So it says, if you wage war, seek counsel. Having people around you constantly providing counsel for you is actually something that accelerates your journey. So mentorship is super important. So it's not just about the tech skills. There are so many things that a mentor will save you from. You have one of two choices. You can either make the mistake yourself and learn from the mistake, or you can learn from somebody else's mistake. I think learning from other people's mistakes is a lot. And it was actually because of that. So there was a program I started a couple of weeks ago, right? And the only reason it was a mentorship program, the reason why I started it was because I looked back at my own journey and I realized that a huge determining factor in getting to where I am right now is because I've had people, I've had mentors, I've had great mentors who have been around me, who've told me, stick with what you are doing, who've encouraged me, who have given me great advice. So mentorship is super important. I hope I've been able to communicate the importance of it. Like it will save you years on your journey. It will save you years on your journey. So till now, I'm always looking out for mentors. So that's what I'd say on that.
And you're looking out for mentors, and you are also mentoring others. That's the amazing part. You also get to mentor people. Thank you so much, Feyintola. That's an amazing response. Thank you. So let's go to soft skills that you mentioned. And what you said actually in your words was that there are things soft skills will do for you that your hard skill, before you begin to deliver on your hard skills, like soft skills are core, right? So for teenagers on the call, what do you think are like the essential soft skills they can begin to learn now? Some of them are just probably going to start learning tech. Maybe after this conversation, they will begin to make inquiries about how they can get started in tech. So, but apart from learning the art skills like the coding and stuff, what are those core soft skills you think they can start mastering now that will really, really be essential for them?
Okay, thank you. That's another great question. All right. And it's also one I'm really excited to answer because I think it was something that wasn't as obvious to me at the start of my journey. But looking back now, right, it's a huge thing to me. I think it's something that we don't talk about enough. That soft skills are such like how do we express this? Soft skills are such a huge determinant in what you are able to get out of a situation. Listen, 5 people can enter the same interview. Eh? All of us can be technically skilled. The truth is, if all of us are equally technically skilled, the one they will pick is one that they liked. Is I don't know how to explain it so much. Like something as simple as you walk into an interview and you smile, it changes the tone of the interview. One thing I tell people is if I can enter, let's not get distracted, right? But just something as simple as you're smiling, something as simple as your ability to, if you are in a workplace, right? Your ability to actually genuinely care about your colleagues. And you are that guy in the office who knows, when people's birthday is, You remember the details around them. You are the one who checks in when somebody is sick, right? You are the one who does all those things. Those things elevate you. You have the ability to communicate with confidence because all of us can have the same technical knowledge, but we're in a meeting and we're brainstorming and looking for a problem. And you know the solution to the problem, but you're not confident. So you're just quiet there. And you're thinking, and I know this thing, no. And I know this thing, no. And then one person that doesn't even know as much as you do now comes and he sells his half-baked answer. And they say, what? Great, let's do that. Confidence. The ability to communicate clearly your thoughts. You can be the most intelligent person in the room, but if you are not able to clearly articulate the thoughts in your mind, we can't put you in leadership. Like, you might be technically skilled, but what you will just find out is that at a certain level, you will be shifted into more and more technical roles, but we are not going to put you in leadership because in the end, the person that we can call an engineering manager is not only somebody who has an engineering manager, somebody who leads a team of engineers. It's not only somebody who has technical know-how. No, an engineering manager needs to be able to break the solution, the complex solution in his head, down into manageable chunks and communicate it in such a manner that a junior, somebody who just started in tech, can understand it and take it. So if you are the most intelligent person in the team, great, but you can't lead people. So leadership, empathy, if you actually, like, you know your onions, you can even communicate, but you don't have the ability to motivate people because you're not empathetic. You're not able to understand that, okay, maybe what this person needs here is not actually, maybe it's not that this person is unserious. Maybe the person is just feeling out of depth. And maybe what the person needs is just a bit of encouragement. If you don't have empathy and you're not able to look into people and see those connections, you will keep on stepping on your people. And when you step on your people, they get tired. And if your people are tired, they will not deliver to the maximum of their ability. So honestly, it takes you places. And even when it comes into things like before you even, especially if you're going into a career, and it applies in both ways. Either you are doing, because sometimes when we talk about tech, it's as if we tend to focus on just the career, like, okay, I get a job in tech. But the truth is, the first maybe 3 or 4 years of my job, of my life in tech, I had my own company. I still have my own company, right? Where I take jobs and all of that. And in both places, you will need skills. The ability to sell yourself to a client. The very first job I got in tech, how did I get it? I was in a lesson. I finished learning website design. I said, okay, in fact, I not even finished learning. I was still learning website design. I said, okay, this is nice. I looked at the lesson. I said, you people have a system for bringing people in. How do you bring people in? There's a particular card that all of us will bring, right? We bring the card. You tick the card. That means somebody has come in. I'm like, I think we can build a system to automate this. I go to the owner of the lesson. First of all, that's where even soft skills came in. The fact that I even had a good enough relationship with the person was a result of soft skills. But I got to him and I say, AJ, Alpha, I think we can do this. No problem. But I don't think I even went to go and meet him. I think I finished building it first. Then I went to go and present it to him. It's as I was presenting it to him that somebody in a different lesson owner now walked past. And he says, oh, I like this. I want you to build a website for my lesson. That's how the company was born. That's how the next job came. AJ, the first one, we did it for free. The second one came, it was a paid job. And then from there, the journey just kept on going. And it was just the ability to actually confidence. The confidence to go and meet AJ, to go and meet the person there. The communication, the ability to actually articulate what my thoughts were, right? Those two things helped. So what I'm just trying to show us here is that before you even get into the thing, a lot of the time, the problem is not that you didn't prepare for the interview, but then you got into the interview and your voice was shaking. Somebody else came. They said half as much stuff as you said, but they said it with confidence and with a smile on their face. I remember the person. I don't remember you. The person gets the job. My village people. Oh, God doesn't love me. It's not anybody. It's you. You are the one doing it yourself. So those things, because before you can even come and display the depth and the breadth of your technical skills, you have to get the job now. And in an interview I promise you, any interview is 80% soft skills. You might think it's 60% hard skills, but it's 80% soft skills and maybe 10%. Sorry, let me rephrase that, right? I say 40% soft skills, 40% preparation, then maybe 20% hard skills. Thank you.
Wow. Guys, I don't know what you guys are doing with your emojis, clapping emojis, thumbs up. Guys, don't sleep on this call. I hope everyone is listening to this. I hope every single person on this call is paying attention. If you're a teenager on this call, see, this thing that Uncle Feyinti just shared. See, anyways, no wala. Okay. So we have so much question in the comment box that I can't even ask all the questions that I had prepared for you. So I'm just going to ask my last question so that we'll just quickly take the question in the comment chat. We don't want to keep you longer than we intend to because we know your schedule is very tight. Okay, so my last question. So I'm trying to just weigh what are the most important questions I can ask Feyintola. What are the most important questions? But I now remember that anytime I have conversations like this with, tech guys like you, I always have a question, and that question is about how they cope, how you juggle everything together, how you are not breaking down. Like, I don't know if I'm permitted to say this. I know you are not just a tech person, you have so many other responsibilities that are also as important as what you're doing, right? So, how do you balance working in tech with your individual life, with everything that you do? And then, in addition to that question, also, one very important question I'm sure some people on the call might ask later is, do people really need a degree to start a tech skill, or do they need a degree in science to start in tech, or is that really helpful in any way? For some of them that are in art class, they are not really in tech, in the science line. Is this still the path for them? So those two questions, and then we take the comments in the chats. All right, over to you, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. That's actually a great question, right? It's a great question. I think the first thing I'll just say is that like I'd actually be available if the team at Tentacles wants to also have another session. I think it's an opportunity to give back. So please feel free to allow me. I'd love to have another session with everyone. So I was going to mention something. Yes, the question of how do you balance it? Very simply, structures, boundaries, structures, boundaries, structures, boundaries. If you do a lot of things well, your time has to be structured. I tell people that the reason why you feel like you don't have time is because there's no structure to your time. It is not that you don't have enough time to do it. It is that you don't like you've not actually sat down and broken your time into chunks, and you've not come to understand what I can actually do in my day. So if you will balance a lot of things and actually genuinely do it well, you need to have structures. What time do you wake up? What time do you go to bed? Like, if you will do this thing, you must divorce yourself from the habit. And speaking to a lot of people, I think the biggest thing in this generation to watch out for is if you will do this thing and you will go far, you must develop a dislike for your phone. I'll just drop that thought there, and I won't go. I won't go. I won't go beyond that. Like, what time do you wake up? What time do you sleep? What happens in the first 4 hours of your day? Right? Okay, so I wake up so and so time. What happens next? Okay, so between 5 to 5:30, I pray. Okay, after that, what happens next? I exercise. After that, what happens next? What's it called? I take a course, right? After that, what happens next? Okay, what is my first meeting of the day? I have school from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. When I get back from school, what happens? When will I cook food to eat? Or when will I eat food? Okay, I need to go to the shop by 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. No problem. What time am I getting back? When I get back, what will happen? Because here's the thing. If you've not spoken for your time, something else will speak for it. If you have not given a job to your time, something else will give a job to your time. They say the best person to give a task is a busy person, right? Because he doesn't have time. You have to fit it somewhere in your schedule. So how do you balance it? Honestly, I say structure. The biggest thing, structure. And having boundaries. Understanding that if you will achieve beyond other people, and I do not say this motivationally, I say this honestly, if you want to have a result that is different from everyone else, it means that you are doing things that are different from what everybody else is doing. It means that you have to be comfortable on missing out on some things that the people around you might be cognizant with. It means that there are some series on Netflix that you will not know anything about. It means that there's some latest celebrity gist that you will not know anything about. It means that there's an amount of followers on Instagram that somebody else might have that you will not have. You know, all those things come into play. It means that there is gist on the WhatsApp group chat that you will miss because you were not with your phone. You must have boundaries. What are the things I am willing to sacrifice? It means that there are parties that other people will go for that you cannot go for because that time has been spoken for already. So, what are the things that you are cutting out? What are the boundaries you are setting? Okay, so this is not available for me. I can't spend 5 hours on social media. That's not possible. The max I can do is 30 minutes. The max I can do is 1 hour. I can't do you understand? Like I can't have a 4 hour conversation with my friend about nothing. It can't work. So if you will balance it, if you will structure it, structures, boundaries. I hope that answers the question. Structures and boundaries, right?
Yes. Yeah. I thought you want to respond to the other part of the question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I want to, okay.
Please.
The other question was, what was the other question again?
Yeah, it was people that think that you need a degree in science to do tech well. I think you're muted.
Right. I was going to podcast at the founder of Andela.
Okay. Oh, we can hear you
Okay.
now. We can hear you.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so I was listening to a podcast by the founder of Andela, right? And he was talking about how, funny enough, the person who founded Andela, which is a tech company, of the 6 co-founders, only 3 of them have anything to do with tech. Actually, only 2 of them have anything to do with tech. The rest of them had nothing to do with tech. 2 of them were education people, like they were deep in education, right? What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that a degree in tech doesn't really matter. It's a nice to have. It's a nice to have. If you have the opportunity to get one, please go ahead and get one. But it doesn't change anything, in the long run. Like you have people who have, if it really mattered, right, you would just turn back the time and then you look at all the numbers and multitudes of computer science graduates, in the electrical engineering graduates, mechanical engineering graduates, all those graduates that have been produced, all the thousands and thousands and thousands of science students that we have churned out in this country, and it hasn't changed anything. It's not really about the degree that you study. It is about the value that you can offer. How are you able to offer value? You are able to offer value when you have skills. How do you build skills? You learn. So regardless of where you are starting from, it doesn't matter where you are starting from. In all honesty, I can tell you this way. In fact, I study computer science. That's great. And I can tell you I can tell you the things I got from that. But it really doesn't matter where you're starting from. The question is, in the end, are you able to deliver value? Yes. And your ability to deliver value is not determined by what degree you studied. So it really doesn't matter. I can give you stories upon stories upon stories. Even in UI, some of the most outstanding tech guys, they do not study computer science. They do not. A lot of them are engineers. A lot of them are lawyers. Especially, a lot of them are medicine. Do you know how many medical people in UI? Medical people that they are tech bros. Like it's not even. I know the plenty. You get the point.
Absolutely. In fact, I have a friend who finished from UI medicine, is currently learning data science. Like there are a lot of them. So thank you so much. Please, can we use our emoji? Can we clap? Can we show our love to Feyintola? This has been, I don't know about you, but I'm so glad I'm here. I've learned so much, and I want to believe that everyone on this call, every teenager, every parent, because I know some parents will also be on this call. So you're a parent, you're telling your child, you're already telling your child now that it's 12, that you will study computer science. Oh, tech, you will bring it to this family. You heard Feyintola, right? You heard the truth, right? So please, we have questions. Let's quickly take our questions so that we'll call it a day. So Feyintola, just permit me, I'll read the questions. I don't know how you prefer I do it. Maybe I'll just read it one by one and then you respond. I think that's better, so that we can have a time. So the first question we have, Romeo sent in his question way earlier while you were still talking. And his question is, how do one juggle tech and academics together as a teenager while balancing both, sir? So, yeah, how do you juggle
Okay,
tech and academics?
that's a great question. So for the first half of my, what's the word? For the first, I think I mentioned that I started doing like enterprise work. I think I mentioned at the start of my job was my first work was actually like freelancing, a personal and my own company. I started doing enterprise work in 200 level. So in fact, this is the first period that I'm doing proper enterprise work without being in school. This is actually the very first time, right? So I've done academics throughout the whole process, and what I'd say that is the same thing I answered earlier: structures and boundaries. Recognizing the fact that if I will do this thing with academics, there are some things that I cannot, some things will have to go. Like I cannot walk from class to my hostel and take 2 hours because we were gisting. That's not going to work. I might not be able to be part of the school sports team. Maybe you can, but I wasn't able. Like, there are certain sacrifices that you will make. But I promise you, as a student, you are probably in the period of your life where you have the most time. You actually probably are in the period of your life where you have the most time. So, how do you balance it? In the end, it's structures. Okay, what time? How many classes do I have in a week? How many hours do they take? How long do I require to read? Right? Now that you have answered those questions, how much more free time do I have? And what will I do with that period of time? One of the advantages of studentship is that to a large extent, your schedule is mostly predictable. Of course, there are unpredictabilities. Your lecturer can come and say, I'm giving you an assignment, tests can come in from two, but to a large extent, your timetable is fixed at the start of the semester. You know when your classes are going to be, right? Another thing I'll say that also that really helps me in particular to balance academics is that understanding what is most important. And I think this question goes for anybody who wants to balance anything. Understanding what is most important at any given point in time. For example, at the start of the semester, when I do not have as much of a class load, I might have more time to learn programming. I might have more time to take on jobs. Towards the end of the semester, around my exams, I might not have as much time. So one thing I used to do was when I was in school, around exam period, I would just let them know that, okay, guys, I'm not going to be as available for the next 2 weeks, but I will make it up. And this is one thing I think I just want to, well, maybe this might not be the best platform, but I'll just quickly mention it here that you are a student does not take away the requirements for excellence. What will cause you to stand out is excellence. So the fact that you are a student does not now mean that you are working for somebody and then you now start to give excuses. I'm a student. I'm a this. No, 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 no. The fact that you're a student does not take away the requirement for excellence. So if you need a certain allowance at a certain point in time, that means that you must be prepared to make up for that allowance. Those are the things that build trust in you. That's just a side note, right? So what I'm basically saying is that balance is dynamic. Like balance is dynamic. So it means that towards as the priority in one area becomes higher, you might have to put more attention in that area. So I think that's it.
Oh, amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me quickly move to the next question. Romeo, I hope that answered your question. So Tony Fadbija asked a question here. He said, what do you think? Okay, what do you think is the best way to learn? Okay, what do you think the best way to learn is? So I guess he's asking about in starting out in tech, what is the best way to learn? Maybe learning individually or learning with some mentors and so on and so forth. If you want to respond to that.
Okay, so I'll try to answer this one briefly. Um, Thank you. That's actually a great question. The best way to learn in tech is, can't answer this question. It's the way you learn. The best way to learn in tech is the way you learn.
Mm.
Now, some people learn better on their own. Some people learn better in a group. Some people learn better with somebody holding their hands and walking them through the process. Some people learn better with independence. I learned everything I learned in tech. I don't think I ever sat down for one boot camp, apart from the one I told you guys about in the very beginning. Every other thing I have learned in tech, I have learned it by sitting down, opening a laptop, watching videos, and typing. That's how it has been for me. But I've also now, over the process of mentoring people, I've also come to understand that people actually learn differently, right? So whatever method is best for you to learn is that's the best method for you to learn. Some people learn better from books. some people learn better from videos, right? So how do you know figure out which one is best for you? Try it. So what I'd say is the best thing to do is start from the one that is accessible before you conclude that somebody has to teach you tech, right? Because that might be more difficult. Having a joint class might be more difficult. Watch a YouTube video first. And sometimes the reason why it's not making sense to you is because you've not watched a good YouTube video, or you've not just met somebody who explained it to you in a manner that you understood it. Sometimes you might need to, like, I remember in the beginning, like, you might have to read 10 different articles before the thing makes sense to you. You might read this one and you're like, okay, this still sounds like Chinese to me. You might read another one and you're like, okay, there's a bit more light here. It might be on your 10th article, you're like, oh, 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 that's what they are saying. Huh, that makes sense now. So it might just be that one of the reasons why you think you're not able to learn on your own might actually just be that you've not found somebody who is explaining to you in a language you understand. So, best way to learn, how do you learn?
Wow. Wow. So, Tony Fabija, how do you learn? Okay, so I mean, to add to what Feyintola has said, that's actually you need to discover what works for you. It may not be the case that boot camps work for everyone. At the same time, it may not be the case that learning individually works for everyone, right? So determine what works for you so that you can actually leverage that, so that you won't waste time, right? For some, it might be attending a class, attending a boot camp, just like what we do here at Tentacles. We know that teenagers out there might not be able to sit on their own and say, "Oh, I want to learn and learn." So we have a community of similar, like-minded people that are learning the same thing. So you have a question, you have someone you can easily go to and ask questions, which is what we do here at Tentacles anyway. And the schedule is flexible. We'll go into all that when we take all the questions. Schedule is flexible, whether you're in school or you're out of school, it's during the holiday, the schedule is very flexible, right? And that's both for parents and teenagers on the call. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Feyintola, for that response. Okay, there's a question from Estefanos. I hope I got that right. He's asking, why is product management not a popular thing in Nigeria, despite the value it brings to the tech industry? Okay, I don't know. You want to respond to that too?
Okay, it's a good question, right? I think I'd actually kind of push back at that a little bit and say that I wouldn't say it's not popular, right? In fact, I'd even say that what I'm even seeing now is I'm seeing more people running. Okay, let me say running, actually running. I'm seeing more people running away from software development and then entering product management, right? But if I'm to answer the question why it doesn't make as much noise, knowledge. That should be the answer to the question. Knowledge, exposure, right? If you've never been, if everybody around you is a software developer, you think that the only method is software development. If everybody around you is like, it's really what you've been exposed to. So how do you make product management more important? Tell people about it. Is product management important? It's extremely important. It's extremely important. So why is it not popular? I'll say the answer to that is exposure. Is it important? Yes, it very much is. Sorry, so you're muted.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that response. I didn't know I was muted. All right, thank you, Stefanos, for your question. I hope that answered your question. Romeo came back to ask another question again. This time around, is asking about does one require a good and bigger device when starting this tech journey, or device doesn't really matter? All right. So, what was the place of device? What kind of laptop should I be looking at getting? And I think that's Romeo's question. Yeah.
Okay, that's also a great question. And I think also being in a place where mentoring people, you come up against this question a whole lot. And by the way, I should actually mention this. Like, I think I already mentioned this earlier, but I'm saying it again. Community is so important. It's so important. It's so important. If you're on this call, like I can definitely, especially if you're a teenager, I can definitely recommend Tentacles as a community that you want to be part of. Right. I told you earlier that I know I mentioned it earlier that the people around you, the things that are celebrated in the people around you, right, will tend to determine the things that you will continue to do. So if you're able to join a community where these things are celebrated, especially when you have problems, they can really, really help with that. And how does that tie into the question that I was just asked? For example, if you're in a community like Tentacles, when somebody is doing a scholarship where they're giving out laptops, it's very possible that the first place you will see it is on the Tentacles group because somebody on the group saw it on Instagram, sent it to the group, you got an opportunity to apply, and then you got in, right? So now to answer the specific question, is device important? I'd say that it's important, but it's not a blocker. How do I put that? I'd say that if you're not yet to truly do tech, right? To truly do tech, especially in some fields in tech, having a laptop is a great advantage. However, that's not the reason why you shouldn't start. I'd say that while you don't have a laptop, if all you have is a phone, watch 20 hours, watch 30 hours of YouTube videos. You'll be surprised as you're going through that process, somehow, you'll be connected to an opportunity. And because you have invested so much effort into preparing for that thing, the opportunity makes sense for you. You might not have a laptop to start with, right? Follow me on this. Like, you might not have a laptop to start with, but why don't you spend time doing what you can where you can, right? You might not be able to have a laptop and say, okay, maybe I'm going to do one or two things, but there are apps on your phone that you can download that can help you write one line of code, that can help you write two lines of code. So it's not as fast, but you can learn so much. You can have so much in your head that by the time you actually now get a laptop, right? Or by the time you now actually get a device, you will run so much farther, right? Than somebody who has had a laptop and is not using it and is just decorating their table or taking up space. So I say that, is it important? Is it good to have a good device? The more powerful your device, there are certain things that it makes easier for you, but it's not a blocker. While you don't have a device, up until the point where you have a device, learn. Do the things you can do with your device. Watch videos, keep on watching videos, keep on reading articles. Like, okay, let me enter that aspect. But of learning, there is no end. Like, there's no end to learning. Just keep on learning. Keep on learning. Keep on learning. Eventually, to pay off. It will pay off.
Wow. I saw what you did there. You were going to go there, but you came back. Bobby, please feel free to go there anytime. Thank you so much, Feyintola. That's an amazing response. Thank you. Okay, so Praise, we just have a couple of more questions and we'll be done. Sorry guys, we know we said the session will be short. We'll just have to attend to your questions. Okay, so the next question is from Praise Kolapo. And he's asking, he said, is it advisable to go into game development and ethical hacking? And then I'm also going to take the next question with that. I think they are like similar questions. That's from Adibanjo. He said, free boot camps for DevOps as a beginner. I checked it out. I love the idea of a software development. Okay, I think this is more of a comment. I think so. Okay, so the question, is it advisable to go into game development and ethical hacking? Okay.
It's a good question.
A hard one.
It's a good question, honestly. And I'd say that it's not so much. So the general answer to that question is it doesn't really matter exactly what you are doing, so much so as the value you are able to offer with that thing. Right. However, if I'm to be a bit more practical, in someone like Nigeria, I wouldn't necessarily say, I'd say that if you want to start off tech, you might be better served by going with something that you can do for anybody and make money fast, right? Ethical hacking requires that there's somebody or there's a company that has a product that they're trying to protect, right? And you are able to offer them that value. But like I said, see, in the end, it's about offering value. So I wouldn't say don't go into it. I don't say go into it either. But one thing that can make it easier is that things like web development, you can build a website for anybody, right? Maybe you can do UI UX for anybody, right? Even product management, you can start a startup. I'd say it might be helpful to focus on things that are.
Hi, Feyintola, are you there?
Can anyone hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now. I think we lost you for a moment there.
Okay, great. So yeah, like I mean, if you can do game development, please go ahead and do it. If you can do ethical hacking, go ahead and do it. I wouldn't discourage you, right? Just remember that in anything you are doing, where the money is that you are able to give somebody value. So it must translate into giving somebody value because that is where they will pay you. The skill in and of itself does not produce value. It is like the skill in and of itself does not bring value. What can you do with it? Who is willing to pay for it? I think that's how I'd answer that question.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Uh, I mean, this has been mind-blowing, accelerating, all the adjectives. Thank you so much for doing this with us, Feyintola. This is an amazing session.
It's an honor.
For all our audience on the call, please, we can appreciate Feyinti, but I don't know if there are still more questions. Maybe some people want to ask their question. You want to unmute and speak. Is there anyone on the call that still has a question? Let's take your question before we leave. So you have a question, you want to unmute and speak. You can just raise your hand, and then I'll call you. You can unmute and speak. Remember earlier that Feyintola was speaking about confidence. You know, places like this is also where you display confidence, right? So please, if you have a question, just raise your hand. Okay, Adeban just said it wasn't a comment. The comment I read earlier, that's a question. Please, can we mute ourselves? Andrew Ayobami, can you mute yourself? Thank you. So I think what Adebanjo is asking is oh, this is really distracting. Please give me a moment, Feyintola. Let me quickly mute this person. Andrew Ayobami, please, can you mute yourself? Oh, okay. Andrew Ayobami, please mute yourself. Thank you. Thank you. I guess you didn't know you were unmuted. And please pay attention, right? The meeting is not over.
I'll mute myself now.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so sorry, Feyintola. So what Adebanjo was actually asking is about financial capabilities. So let me just try to rephrase what he's saying. So how do you start out in tech without if you don't have as much financial capability? I think he's interested in DevOps and all that, but there is no financial capability. So how do you may handle that aspect?
So I think it's a very valid question, right? Because it's really a problem that a lot of people do face, right? And a lot of the time, one of the reasons that is driving people into tech is that, tech is a means to lift the family into a different zone than they are right now. So it's oftentimes you actually have those handicaps to start with. What I say to that is you'll be surprised how many free resources there are. Like there's so many free resources online that you can actually leverage, right? A lot of people understand the fact that the biggest thing holding people back from doing tech is finances. So there are solutions to that. So if you go online, I don't have like the specific ones that come into my head, right? But I just want to keep it general. For example, if you are a university student here and your school has a student email, check out GitHub Developer GitHub Developer Pack. GitHub Developer Pack. I think I will find a video on it and I can forward it to Mr. Samuel, or maybe for one forwarding to somebody else. So if you're a student of a university and you have a student email, right, that really, really helps in terms of getting access to a ton of resources. You can look at things like Free Code Camp, YouTube videos, honestly, YouTube videos, right? And some things are not as expensive as you might think. For example, a course on Udemy, right? Actually, it tends most of the time there are discounts on it, so it tends to cost maybe 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, maybe all the way up to 10,000, right? But often you can get a course for like a relatively small amount of money. What else? What else are there? I think I already spoke about how if you don't have a device for now, keep on learning. Even if all you have right now is theoretical knowledge, just be having the theoretical knowledge. At the point at which you now get access to whatever those devices are to actually try out those things. See, there is something about hunger that attracts opportunities. There's actually something about being passionate about something that puts you in a place where you're now starting to come into contact with people, who are able to. So, for example, if maybe there's only one person in your street that has a laptop, and you are so hungry that you keep on going to the person and say, okay, please, let me spend 1 hour here. Let me spend 10 minutes there. Let me spend 30 minutes there. That hunger, eventually you get to the point where you are now able to, you might be able to get your first job, Yeah. Maybe something small. Maybe it's to build a site for somebody and all they pay you is 10,000. And with that 10,000, you can buy data and you can watch more videos from there. And then, it just keeps on expanding from there. So I look out for
Wow.
opportunities online. There are lots and
Yeah.
lots and lots of free opportunities online. So just keep on searching. Free scholarship for somebody in tech, free scholarship for students.
Absolutely.
So that helps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have just one last question. I don't think we'll be taking any more questions. Definitely.
Okay.
We're really sorry for taking your time this long.
Glad
Just
to
one
help.
last question. We'll be done. To also add to what Feyintola also said about financial inadequacies, it's fine. I think one of the things you can also do is to just get in touch with us. We can figure out something for you, right? If you're a teenager, maybe mommy and daddy is not, and you yourself, it's not that you're working anyway, the money is not anywhere. Get in touch, we'll figure something out for you, right? And honestly, our prices are very, very affordable. For the value we're giving you, it's affordable, really affordable. All right, so let me take the last question from David Patrick again. Okay, is it okay to be a jack of all trade in tech? That's our last question. So, Feyintola, is it okay to be a jack of all trade in tech? What do you say?
Is it okay to be a jack of all trades? That's a very interesting question. And to that, what I'd say is this, right? There's this thing where you can either have broad skills or deep skills, right? Like, it's not an either or question, but sometimes your skills are deep in that you are really, really good at one thing, but you are only good at one thing. And your skills are broad in that you are good at a number of small things, right? Now, what I'll say is this. There's a requirement to get really good at least one thing. Like actually getting good to the extent where you are able to deliver value in that thing. It's important that you have that level of skill, but having a breadth of knowledge helps you because it helps you. One of the things if you look at my profile, you realize that I'm doing software development, but I have degrees in cloud. I have certifications in cloud engineering, and that's one of the things that really helps me. I have certifications in cloud engineering. I've done some stuff on AI. I've also done some stuff on machine learning. I've done some stuff on a couple of other things. So having that breadth of skills helps you because whenever you are in a team, you are able to offer more value because you know more things. Like you have more perspectives. You've learned more here. You've learned more there. You've learned more there. And that's really, really good. But it is also important that when the going gets, like when we get down to brass tacks, can you deliver? So just like okay, you know small HTML, you know small CSS, you know small Java, you know small JavaScript, you know small this, you know small model, but you can't do anything. Like you can't. If I tell you to do product management, you get to where your knowledge stops, and then you stop. If I tell you to do so, like there's really no value you can really offer because you've not built that level of skill at any one thing. So Java, it's good to have a lot of things. Jack of all trades, no problem, but you must master one. There has to be one that I can hold you to and say, if I give this person this thing, this person can take it to the bank. This person can follow this process end to end. That's very, very important. So not many things, but you must have the ability to deliver on at least one of them.
Wow, thank you so much. Please, can we
Thank you, sir.
appreciate Feyintola? Can we show your love? I don't know. A lot of you have been quiet on the call. Show your love, use your love emoji. Let's appreciate him. Thank you so much for making time out to join us. This has been a
It's a
very,
pleasure.
very
It's an honor.
enlightening conversation. Thank you so much. This really means a lot to us. We know you have a very busy schedule, and it's a great privilege having you on the call and you sharing all this. Thank you
It's
so
an
much.
honor.
Thank you so much.
Honor to be
So
here.
we'll just do a. I am tempted to ask for your final words, but I know you said a lot of things. I mean, all the things you'll be saying are like final words, rolling over, right? But I will still ask because just speak to the teenagers on the call. I know maybe Tony Fabreja is a teenager, at least I know that. There are some other teenagers also on the call. Just speak directly to them. They are eager, they want to learn, they want to be like you. So what do you want to say to them basically? I've put you on the spot.
No, I'm really trying to take myself back there.
Yeah,
And if I'm speaking directly to a teenager here, what
yeah.
I'll tell you is do not underestimate the power of one positive thing every day. Do not underestimate the power of the days of small beginnings. Do not underestimate the power of small efforts that compound. Um, I think the story I can share is like I started running again. I mentioned that earlier. And I remember the first couple of times I ran, I could only run maybe 3 minutes at a time, right? But recently, like we ran for 35 minutes at a go, right? A couple of kilometers. And you you don't realize how much it adds up. Honestly, you don't realize how much it adds up. Like in the moment, it's never apparent. It's like an ice cube, right? An ice cube goes from water. So in summary, do not underestimate the power of small efforts. If you keep putting in that small effort, you miss one day, the next day you come back, right? You miss 3 weeks, the next time you come back. You just keep on putting in that effort, and you keep on putting in that effort, and you keep on putting in that effort. You will not recognize yourself at the end of that journey. You honestly would not. Do not underestimate the power of small positive efforts. That's my word.